flipping me off. I didn't run the red light.
Oh, tell the truth, you flip them off, don't blame it on somebody else.
We at least admitted we were not being far from children.
We're not being. That's the benefit to driving by yourself. You can scream and holler and cuss and all you want in your own car.
Okay, we're recording now, so let's get to rolling. Good evening and welcome to the July 2022 Aubrey P&Z meeting, Planning Commission meeting. We have quorum with 4 people in attendance. Starting with the agenda item. We need to say the pledge. Who wants to say our pledges? Come on, people, help me out here. Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Would anybody like to do our invocation? Okay. Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight asking for wisdom and guidance. We pray for discernment and knowledge as to how to grow Aubrey in an intelligent and smart way. We ask this in your son's name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, community announcements, items of community interest, including recognizing citizens and staff for outstanding contributions to the community. A reminder about any upcoming event that is organized or sponsored by the governing body. And announcements of an imminent threat to public safety that has arisen after the posting of the agenda. Anybody have anything? I do know that Denton County has issued a burn ban effective today. So no lighting your fields on fire recently, guys. Otherwise, I think we're good. Everybody, we're good to go on?
Trash can.
What about trash cans?
Didn't we get new trash service?
I don't know. Did we get them?
He doesn't announced it.
Oh, very cool. When does it start?
August 1st.
Really?
On July 21st, we get new trash cans, a new trash service.
Okay.
July or August?
August.
August 21st.
Well, they'll switch, but they start picking up August 1st, right? Yeah.
Oh, there we go. That's important information.
Interesting.
The more important, does our trash day change?
Yes. We go to Monday.
We go to Monday.
We go to Monday.
Oh, that's not bad.
Did
Okay.
this come to the Windridge site or from
Aubrey, and there's like 5 people posted it.
City of Aubrey? Okay.
These are the important things in life. Who's picking up our trash? Okay, moving on. Number 1, hold a public hearing, consider an act on a recommendation to City Council regarding a request for a zoning change for planned development for Aubrey Heights, being approximately 39 acres out of the John Fisher Survey, abstract 432, generally located west of Highway 377, south of West Blackjack Road, and east of Blackjack Oaks Road, located in the Aubrey city limits.
Evening, Commissioners. Clint Bissett with Chacon Code. Probably remember this item. We were here last month, and based on comments that they got from council, the applicant has gone back and revised their layout. They took the density from 162 lots down to 152, I believe. They added in some additional green area and some park area, as well as allowing for drainage on the east side of the property, so that the drainage that was coming towards them that got discussed at the P&Z last time now has the ability to drain off there without actually coming onto somebody's property. So they have that drainage easement allowed in there. And those are the 2 main changes that took place in there that were in response to the council's feedback.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Does anybody have any comments, concerns, questions? Yes, ma'am. You do, please come and state your name and address. It won't bite much.
Just bite back.
I know,
There you go.
right? Lisa Manchester, 521 Amy Jo Circle. We've met before. You went from 162 to 152. Where's the difference made up? Because it looked like there's still 50-foot outlines and 60-foot. Nothing really appeared to change.
you want to do your presentation before? Whenever you guys would like, yeah, I can answer, I'll be able to answer that when I go through it.
Why don't you do the presentation? That way you, everybody can, because everybody will have the same questions.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Good evening, Craig Calhoun, Sweet Cow Holdings, 2301 Vale Drive, McKinney. So yes, based upon some feedback from the community as well as city council, we've made modifications to the plan development, zoning, and to our conceptual layout. So yeah, if you could start the slideshow, that would be great, I guess. Well, there you go. Okay. So let me see if I have, do we have a laser pointer here? It won't work on the screen. Okay. What we've done is we've taken the northern tract, which on this case is the upper left-hand corner, and converted that from basically specified in the PD that those be all minimum of 60 by 120s. So whereas before we had a neighborhood pure 50s for the most part, minus a few on the corners that were a little bit wider. So that eliminated some lots. And then in addition to that, we've created a 30-foot buffer. As you can see, if I could point there on the bottom side of the upper left hand, yes, right there, you can see a walking path that will stretch all the way from Blackjack to Sherman Road. And that will be owned by the HOA and maintained by the HOA. There'll be 30 foot there. And the intent on that is twofold. Number one, to provide an additional amenity for the neighborhood, but it's also to provide a buffer for the neighbors. As you see, it extends along the Arkema property on the west side there. And then you have to kind of reorient yourself because of the way this is oriented. And then the Amy Jo Circle side where there are trees and there was concern about privacy along there. So the intent on this is to retain as many of those trees as possible along that side and also create an amenity there. It also allowed us to adjust the street, as you can see, and the lots on the lower section that's bordering Sherman, and allowed us to basically spread out some of those rather than having a bunch of big lots and a few tiny ones. We were able to kind of moderate those. The new average lot size, you can go to the next slide. Oh, I can go to the next slide. I think, there we go. Oh, just to remind you on the zoning, there is a mystery zoning on the upper 15 acres. It's SFPD. It is already zoned single family plan development. We don't know what that document is. It's hasn't been found in the city records. The lower portion, the 24 acres is currently ag exempt, but all of these are in the city limits. This is not in the ETJ. So back to, this was the original plan where we didn't have the buffer. We had cul-de-sacs going right up to the property line on both sides on the upper side. And we had the larger lots down here on the west side of the lower portion. As you can see, we've spread that out. I'll go to the next slide. So basically, just to kind of recap, we had one area near the detention pond originally was tree preservations. Now we've got a 30-foot buffer that goes nearly a half a mile all the way from Blackjack to Sherman Road, and a walking trail to accompany that will be amenity for the neighborhood. The resulting density has gone from 4.1 dwellings per acre down to 3.8 per acre. And open space has gone up an entire acre to 4.81 acres of 12% of the neighborhood. So we feel like these are, we've listened to the feedback, and hopefully this is in our meetings with the city, they seem to have liked what we presented. So this is the resulting neighborhood again, where you have some curvilinear on the southern portion of the tract, and then you've got the connecting trails. Again, we've defined in the plan development that these rules be kept, where the tract one, the upper tract is 60-foot minimum wide lots, 7,200 square foot minimum, and then the lower tract is a minimum of 6,000. Our average again on the entire development is approaching 8,000. It's 7,943, I believe.
All the other parameters stayed the same as far as front and rear yard setbacks, side yard setbacks, the same as what was recommended last time when we met. So that's it. I think that's my presentation. Thank you.
Did that answer your question? Thank you. Do we have any other more comments or questions?
Someone on Zoom.
Anybody on Zoom have a question? You're muted. You have to unmute. We can't hear you. There you go.
Can you hear me now? Hello. Hey, everyone. My name is Michael Erkema, and I live on 815 West Blackjack Road. We own the beautiful 15-acre horse property that's adjacent to the proposed Aubrey Heights development, and we're opposed to it. So I've been in the multifamily and commercial real estate ownership and financing business for over 24 years. So I have a lot of expertise in this field. With that knowledge and the knowledge of the city of Aubrey's future development plan, my wife and I, along with numerous other Aubrey residents, are opposed. And for the following reasons. Number one, the proposed development zoning change is inconsistent with the current land use in the area. The proposed development is way too dense at 3.8 units per acre as compared to the current uses in the area. The whole charm and reason we bought in Aubrey a year ago was the small hobby farms that line both Sherman and Blackjack Road and the city's low density developments. Number two, the proposed high density development zoning change is inconsistent with the city's future use plan. The proposed PD does not fit it within the comprehensive plan that was adopted by you, the Planning and Zoning Commission, and the City Council less than 2 years ago. The proposal is still nearly double what the comprehensive plan concluded and is contrary to the other uses in the immediate area. It's not in the citizens of Aubrey's best interest to rush to zoning changes. The fact that both parcels were never publicly marketed for sale makes me consider that there are much better development options, lower density, available than what is being presented, which is not even close to the comprehensive plan nor cohesive with the neighborhood. To me, it seems like the proposed option is the cheapest, easiest option for the developer, not what is in the best interest of the citizens of Aubrey. Third, the proposed high density development zoning change would devalue properties in the area. The high density development will devalue other properties in the area and take away from the charm of Aubrey, similar to how the city is opposed to high density apartments being proposed off of 377. For this type of high density development, there's no way to make that sort of development attractive. Starter homes, no matter what the developer says, are built more inexpensive and are lesser quality than homes that would be built in a low density area. Fourth, there's concerns about the market and the developer. Housing prices in the last 3 years have increased 60 to 80%, and mortgage rates have tripled in just a year. These two factors are grinding single family development to a small trickle, and major single family developers are bracing for very choppy waters. It has become unaffordable for many people to own a home. And in my opinion, there's a legitimate concern as to the experience and financial capability of the developer and their ability to carry the costs when we're heading into a possible recession and the highest inflation in 40+ years. Fifth, the proposed development would put a burden on infrastructure. Approving this zoning change and development would put a high amount of stress on infrastructure in the area. Blackjack Road is in shambles. I would expect that you'd need to have a traffic light on Sherman given the busy traffic across from the school. This commission needs to consider increased traffic on both Blackjack and Sherman. For 150 homes, you're talking about double to triple the amount of vehicular traffic. Based on my experience as a developer and in speaking with a number of neighbors, we are not opposed to new single family development. However, we are opposed to high density single family development in the area. We feel that the development with up to 2 units per acre would certainly be acceptable. A less dense development with 2 units per acre would be more attractive. It would have more space between homes, more green space, and less of a burden on city infrastructure for roads, sewer, water, police, and fire. It would also be a better balance of housing, which is critical to a successful community. A few examples that are in the area include the Blackjack Oaks development and the development just west of the high school on Neubauer Ranch Road. Please say no to the current development and proposed zoning change and recommend that the developer modify their plan to the estate neighborhood zoning per the comprehensive plan. This would protect the integrity and roots of the community of being a ranch and equestrian community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your very well thought out response. Does anybody else in the audience have questions? Comments? Okay, we're going to close the public hearing at 6:24. Commissioners, what do you think?
Definitely a well bullet pointed statement there. I think it's very closed ended what was presented, so some diligent food for thought for sure.
I understand the concern about road infrastructure and such. Those of us that live in Aubrey are well aware that that is a concern, especially because TxDOT doesn't always merge with other communities to make sure that the roads are in before the subdivision goes in, but that's the way of the world. We're not going to be able to change that. So that, I mean, we can't do anything about that. And we truly can't. So I guess my question to you, Kim, is you are the expert on the specifications. What are your thoughts?
I do have a question.
Please do.
Can we go back to the site? Where is the drainage gonna be again? Or now that we have this?
So. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
There was a concern about the drainage to
Yeah.
his farm.
So we have the detention there, on where the detention pond's located. There will also more than likely be a section, according to the engineers, on that west side of the lower track where the water tends to flow. So when we readjusted some of that, it gave, they're gonna have to look at that as we go towards preliminary plat. It has to be passed through city engineering and so also the pathway along the side there, it does allow for them to control some of that flow a little bit better than they were before, where it was butting up house to house on the backside.
Now, on the other side of that walking trail on the top part, what is there gonna be? Is it just open? Cause I'm guessing that's where your house was, correct? Is there gonna be a wall there or anything like that, or is it just gonna be open to fences or?
The other side, yeah, there will be fences between the house and the walking trail.
Okay.
Yeah, to delineate the backyards of the homes
Okay.
along the area.
How wide is that walking area?
So we've specified it as a 4-foot path. And it's almost 2,500 feet long.
But how wide is it from fence to fence?
30 feet to buffer. It's a 30-foot zone for that whole, that's where we got our additional acre in open space dedicated, is with the walkway.
We retain our own fence.
Correct.
You're not gonna be
Yes.
retaining wall between.
No, your fence will stay, and that's the goal, is to preserve those trees and have that walkway closer to the fences neighboring along our development side.
And I feel like that fixes a lot of the concerns that were stated at the previous meeting.
Yeah.
About flooding, about the fences being, back to back kind of a thing. Plus on top of that, I mean, it did reduce some of the size, so probably not as much as what people would want, but and I think they did a really good job at like kind of hitting all the bullet points that were previously stated as concerns.
I'm not sure I understand where the fences are gonna be and with along with those trees. Right there. just what, yeah. right.
Yeah, where that red property line on the back, there'll be a fence along there, and then the existing fence on the Amy Jo side, those will stay intact,
How far will that be?
30
from the
feet.
fence? So
30 feet.
west of the line now, that's.
West of the existing fences on Amy Jo will be a 30-foot buffer.
So the fence is gonna be on the back side of the property for the homeowners,
Correct.
and then that
If
side
you were
will be
walking
open.
down, you would see a clean set of new, nicely wooded fences along the side on that trail.
And in between that and our fences now, that's just gonna be,
It's going to be open space.
Okay.
Yeah, there'll be grass, walkway. We do specify in the PD. I think 4 benches along the way, like every 1/8 of a mile, there'll be a bench on the side. So there's a little bit of a, hey, I'm tired of walking a half a mile.
there'll be like a rest area each,
Correct.
and so many feet of, capacity.
About how many trees are in that area? Cause I know there was a concern, I feel like last time that I heard, there was concern of keeping as many trees as possible. How many trees about are in that area?
We
Bit
haven't,
like big
we haven't
trees.
done the tree survey yet, but we have our engineers prepared to do it to where
Probably
we,
10 or 11.
yeah,
10
there's some
Yeah, I got
really
2
big
in my
ones.
backyard. They're over.
Mm.
They're right on that.
I mean, I just wanna make sure to keep all of those trees as possible. If we had to move
Yeah.
the pathway or something like that is,
In this section right here, this very large section in the corner is very dense with trees currently, as well as this, the other proposed open areas is pretty dense.
All this. No, yes, it is.
that's all the questions I have.
Chris, you got anything?
Seems like everything that came to my mind was covered. Number one, the preservation of trees for sure. I like the resting benches. No other question.
Vicky, anything? Just a couple, can we make those fences along that back open? From a security and safety standpoint, I'm a little worried that you got a half-mile walk in there with no eyes on it is a security issue.
Mm.
That's good.
That,
It's a-
like the tubular metal steel or tubular metal or something, so you could see through it, so there's eyes on that trail at all time. I think PD's not here, but I would assume they would be concerned about that being a long, narrow.
Yeah.
That's
And
where all
then
the kids are gonna
lighting
go
as
hang out and
well.
smoke. We didn't do any of that as kids, but
Lighting?
you know.
What
And
about
that brings
to
up a
your
question
point?
about lighting.
Yeah, so you just brought up another point.
Well, and that's my concern. If it's open to those houses, then the lights and the trees and the people's back porches, it kind of becomes an ancillary safety.
Mhm.
You can ask for trail lighting, but it's very difficult to put trail lighting in and maintain, so.
Yeah.
It's a big cost, but I think by opening it up, the light from the backyards is gonna spill into it. I think that's probably,
Yeah, just, we have appropriate lighting on the trail, so what that is defined as could be. Could be questioned. I like your idea. Could be lived in a community where there's view fencing to open areas.
Like a
wrought iron
fence.
It's
Yeah.
kind
Yeah,
of, it's a mixed bag of tricks, right? It's great in one
It is.
sense, but then if you want privacy in your backyard,
Right.
so. Something to consider.
I would think also though that it helps the homeowners because if you don't want people back there, I mean, you don't know what's going back there. I mean,
it's crazy. If you put the trail in before the houses go there, they pay extra for the open fencing. If you
Right.
try to do it after.
Yeah.
It is not a pretty conversation.
Mhm.
Okay, do you think we're ready for a vote then?
They get the business feedback. Period. If there's nothing there with fences and a walkway.
And I guess with that concern, I mean, there's no curfew in regards to using that area.
Mhm.
No,
Yeah.
there won't be.
It's a neighborhood. You can't put a curfew.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Maybe on the armadillos, but.
Is there a way that we can get PD to look and see if that would be Like what type of safety hazard that would be?
That's gonna be my recommendation. Whether council chooses to take it or not, that's
Okay.
council's
Yeah,
decision.
I'm with you on that one.
Just to have open fencing to allow wherever possible, open fencing to open spaces.
I think the value lies there.
Mhm. You're right. They don't have any, whoever said it, they don't have any business being back there, but
That's right.
teenagers have to find someplace to hang out and
Right.
During the
they're always
summertime,
doing something.
You know, they're gonna. They're gonna.
They have to know that there are certain ramifications. Back there doing certain things.
Yeah,
Period. That's a problem now with, as it is.
everywhere in every city has the same problem.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm not nowhere else but here. This is where I'm working.
fair enough. You ready for a vote? Okay, do we have a motion?
Make a motion that we approve this with I guess a look at those fences on the back end on the trail.
For open fencing?
Yes, please.
Okay,
I'll second that.
okay. Adam has a motion and Crystal is making a second. Let's vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, motion passes 5-0. Okay, good luck. It's off to city council. Okay, item 2, consideration and action on a recommendation to city council regarding a preliminary plat for Ribbonwood Mud number 1, being approximately 90 acres out of the FH Pollard Survey, abstract 995, Denton County, Texas, located east of FM 2931, south of Spring Hill Road, east of Coffee Road in the Aubrey extraterritorial jurisdiction. Do you have a presentation?
I'm here for staff. I don't know if the applicant would like to make their presentation first. Matters not. We received the plat. We should have it somewhere in your packet. We received revised information on Monday. The plat application is complete. But there are still some questions and some details that the engineering provided comments on Tuesday. So we have some additional comments that we would like the applicant to address. It is substantially similar to the planned the development agreement that they have with the city. There's some differences there that we would like to kind of iron out. If you'll notice there, those are our comments in some areas where the plan development and the preliminary plat are slightly different. So we do have a few questions about lot sizes and lot depths and where easements are per the deed restrictions and the warranty deeds and notations of that nature. So at this point, staff is recommending a conditional approval. A conditional approval provides the applicant 30 days to address comments. If they are not able to, if we're not able to come to an agreement, then the plat is automatically denied. And they would have to reapply. Any questions for staff?
Yeah, I'll hold those questions.
Okay.
Thank you. Thomas Fletcher with Kimley Horn. Good to be here with you all tonight. We've been working with staff closely on this. I know when we made the submittal, it was not very long ago. We've got comments, we've addressed those, and now there's some additional comments, and we're fine with the conditional approval. We want to continue to work with staff to get the comments addressed and realize that with the House bill and the 30-day shot clock, it makes it a challenge to go through the process and get everything addressed, but have no issue with the conditional approval. And happy to answer any questions about the project.
Commissioners, have any questions?
So what are the concerns that are actually coming up that?
I haven't seen the latest set of comments.
Okay,
Yeah.
so what?
So we received, the engineers reviewed some of the plat and I received those comments on Tuesday. And I was just able to review those today. I still do have some questions about the electrical, right? My understanding was that we were still working on the electrical. And the easement for the easement along, I believe it's 428. thank you, 2931. So really they're minor in nature, although, yeah, they're minor in nature and we just need to knock out the differences, in my opinion. So if you'd like, if you could pull up the plan development agreement. Yeah, if you could scroll down to Exhibit C. Yeah, it's gonna be towards the end. Okay, so right there, that's the development, and so some of the lot locations are slightly off as compared to the preliminary plat. Then we just need to make sure that we have agreement about the right of way width from TxDOT, and we make sure that we address that on the preliminary plat. We need to just make sure that the meets and bounds description match the property description.
And one comment on the, so in the, so as we went through the development agreement, one of the things that we worked through kind of at the last minute was making the adjustment for where the entry into the development was, just to satisfy fire for the remote access requirement. So when we did that, we originally had 367 lots, and then we made the adjustment. It dropped down to 362. The language, we didn't have time to go back through and make any adjustments to the overall land plan. There's a note on the concept plan that says this is conceptual. The final layout and lot count will be based on the actual preliminary plat and final plat. The development agreement says that we would have no more than 40% 40s. So when we went through and prepared the final plat, we did make some small adjustments to regain those 5 lots that we had lost when we were making the adjustments with the drive, but the percentages still meet the language within the development agreement that was agreed upon. So there's some of the lots that are it's on the southern property line, but just looking at this, it's on the right-hand side, close to the entry, where we converted some of those 50-foot lots to 40-foot lots. So I think that's what Kate is referring to. Yep. So there is a note on the exhibit that stipulates that it is conceptual in nature, and that we would follow all the requirements in the development agreement when preparing for the preliminary plat. So.
And things like sidewalk width and streetlights, and I mean they've added streetlight notes in the
Correct.
plat.
And a lot of the things that, like the electrical, like generally until we start our final plat and construction plans, that's when CoServe is going to start preparing our electrical layout, and we have a better idea of where they want their easements. But we are in agreement that we're going to meet the requirements of, I think it's chapter 20, article 2, as far as where the electrical facilities go. The fact that they're going to be in easements, they're going to be underground within the subdivision. So there's definitely no conflict or disagreement with city staff with regards to that.
The Upper Trinity easement, where's it going? I know it starts in Silverado and it continues on north. I think it's on the other side of 2931.
Yeah, I mean, my meeting with city staff when we met on High Point Ranch to discuss where it went through there. When we looked at the overall area, my understanding it was on the west side of 2931, so it wouldn't have impacted this project.
Okay.
And there is a Mustang easement that's being extended from the south up through this development for water. I believe it's an 18-inch water, 15 or 18-inch water that will be extended up to serve this development.
Is that shown on their preliminary plat?
I believe it is, yes.
Okay, as long as staff's aware of it and they've got it, it's fine.
Yeah, it's an 18-inch along the entire frontage of the property. to the northern boundary.
Is this an in-city mud? Or is it
Um,
gonna be a separate mud?
This is, it's not in city because there's no city limits that are contiguous with the property. So in the development agreement, there's a stipulation for annexation, in the future.
To be determined?
Yeah. Mhm.
I did not see any dedication for right turn lanes on 2931. I assume this is not the final plat, so. I understand
Correct.
that,
Yeah,
but I
we
don't-
haven't done a traffic impact analysis yet, so we'll have to go through the traffic impact analysis, look at each drive location and whether right turn lane, left turn lanes, whether they're warranted. And typically for a development of this size, they would, you would have warrants.
Is this the Alamo House? Is this
It's it's the track to the north. So that owner, I believe his overall parent tract was approximately 200 acres,
Mhm.
maybe a little under that, but this is 90 acres out of that parent tract. And the Alamo House is still on the property to the north and owned by that same landowner. At least that's my understanding.
what are the boundaries of the mud? Is this
Um,
just one, is this all it is? Is
It's
there
just
more?
this, but the development agreement with the city stipulates that that property could be annexed into the mud if at a future date became available and acquired by the developer of this property. But Sandbrook is to the south, so there's already that mud and development they're really to the south and to the east, and they go all the way over to the next county road.
So, and that was my next
Wow.
question. Your stub to the south, is that gonna connect over to
Yeah,
Aspen Hills, whatever it is? Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it would, when we did the layout and the conversations with staff, providing connectivity was important, especially with the how narrow the tract was. And making sure that as development occurred to the north and to the south, there were more points of access, specifically for fire and EMS. So this is kind of the locations we've currently shown so that we can plan for, since we're the first development coming in within this section of 2931. As they develop those tracks to the south and north, they can provide that connectivity to those stub streets. And we're coordinating with Sandbrook, or will be coordinating with Sandbrook on that water easement and the sewer easement. So there'll be some coordination there. And I would assume that if for some reason they wanted us to shift that drive connection, then we could work that out through the final plat.
Okay, my only other concern, well, I could go on and on, but this is my world. We have a really long street there. I'm gonna play Vanna, guys. Right here. Big stripes here. Goes all the way down. That's one very long, very continuous street. Is there any way to introduce a couple of multi-way stops? You've got one where potentially where it connects to the south.
Uh-huh.
Is there any way to create another multi-way stop in there? So at least at some point as staff receives the calls at speeding and, oh my gosh, and all that, they could potentially. I know that would cause some lot rework, but that's something.
Looks like a great way for a racetrack.
Mhm. It will be.
We can certainly look at ways to incorporate additional intersections to provide multiple-way, four-way intersections so that you can have the stop condition.
Okay, and the same thing on the entry to the north, it comes and it just continues all the way through, so. If you'll look at that, opportunities for traffic calming and stuff.
I was gonna say, does Aubrey allow for traffic calming? I know it's not, I don't think it's listed anywhere within the ordinance, but I know there's things that we've done in other cities that we could certainly look at doing to kind of slow down.
I would recommend introducing some kind of traffic calming.
Okay.
Size of the lots, and then trails, that's always a big thing for P and Z.
Yeah, and there's a trail, there's an open space lot to we've got floodplain on the track to the east. And we're putting a trail within that floodplain from our southern property boundary up to the northern property boundary and then connecting it into the subdivision. So that trail, I believe it was stipulated as an 8-foot trail within the DA. So that way, as development occurs to the north and south of us, because it's along that floodplain, there'll be the opportunity to continue that trail.
What about a sidewalk on 2931?
We've got, I think, we've added, there's a sidewalk plan. I believe that was added when we resubmitted. But we did have a note in there that sidewalks would be provided along all public right of ways. I don't think we're showing that, but I don't think that would be a
Okay, because I
problem.
thought,
to-
did I miss it? I might have missed
I
it.
think if I'm not mistaken, maybe I read in the ordinance that it said on roads, new roads that we're improving. So I know sometimes when you've got a TxDOT road that's going to be improved in the future, if you construct a sidewalk and there's really no connectivity to the north or south and they come in and they redo the road, it never gets used and then they end up having to tear it out in order to build the sidewalks with the ultimate roads.
Mhm.
But that's definitely something we can look at and
Fair enough.
And then the original concept plan did not show corner clips at intersections, so I saw you looking at that. And we intend to, when we do like a preliminary plat is preliminary is to make sure that all the utilities and everything is that the development can meet the code of ordinances, that there's utility service, that there's drainage, that you've accounted for that. When we go through and do what we call final lot calcs, there will be slight modifications to the plat. The number of lots won't change, the percentage of types of lots will not change, but when we do that, we'll go in and we'll add the corner clips at the intersections so that there's not, so you don't need the sidewalk or visibility easement. That way it's public right of way. But I saw Kim looking at our details, so.
I did want to compliment them. There's 2 open space accesses, 34X. And then down, so people will have access from the neighborhood into the trails instead of just one point. There's a couple different points for them to connect. So kudos to you guys. I'll give you
Thank you.
credit where you see it. Thank you. Commissioners, you have any questions?
None?
Dean, you good? Crystal?
No, ma'am.
Okay, need a motion.
I move we approve. The preliminary plat for Ribbonwood Mud number 1. Based on conditional approval with the staff recommendations. And adjustments as discussed.
Okay, we have Vicky made a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Adam had a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Good luck. Okay, let me get back to my magic agenda here. The last one is consideration and action on approval of minutes for June 9th, 2022. Planning and Zoning Commission. Anybody have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Adam is making a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
A second.
Vicky seconds, all in favor? I'm abstaining because I wasn't here, so I couldn't tell you. We have a motion, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0 with 1 abstention. And I believe that wraps us up. Okay, very good. Have a lovely day. Thank you very much for your service.
Hi. Hello.